Hello, friends. It's John Klein third of episode 204 of Shadow and the premiere with Magic, the premiere Kitty Pryde Lockheed and Magic podcast. Walker D World provided some music for me, so I thought we'll give it a shot. So thank you to him, who's doing great at trombone. Hopefully you can hear that. All right, today we're going to review Batman Deadpool 1 and from Age of Revelation, Book of Revelation 2, Unbreakable X-Men 2, Omega Kids 2, The Last Wolverine 2, Radioactive Spider-Man 2, then Spider-Man Holiday Spectacular 2025, Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe 5, Predator Kills the Marvel Universe 4, Ultimates Volume 3 Issue 18, quickly One War Under Doom 9, and then very quickly X-Men of Apocalypse 1. So if you like bigger, longer episodes, you are in for a treat, as it looks like this is going to be a longer one. So let's get into Batman Deadpool number one. We get the DC side of this crossover, written by Grant Morrison, art by Dan Mora, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Todd Klein. No relation. This comic was very zany, maybe too zany for me. I like how the comedy for Deadpool Batman wasn't over the top and actually funny. This feels like a situation is zany and the characters are trying their best to get through it. I really like how fun the crossover is, only possible because of the two cosmic deities hook up. What an explanation. There are times when I would turn a page and feel like I had missed a page, so I had to flip back, and nope, we just had moved on to the next scene. Deadpool is here recognizing the fourth wall. Batman really wants to make sure Deadpool isn't a version of Deathstroke, which was funny in the first panel, but by the end of the page, it's like, we get it. Wade and Slade sounds the same, but time to move on, great detective. Batman figures out they are in a mental prison of some kind, and we get the big villain reveal. Oh yeah, spoilers for all these comics. Oh yeah, and I'm wearing my Alan Davis Kitty Pryde Lockheed shirt for those watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for everyone who's supporting the podcast that way. And the big villain reveal is Cassandra Nova, which makes sense as Morrison's writing it and writing Deadpool, who had a movie recently with Cassandra Nova as the villain. So there's a lot of synergy going on here. Speaking of synergy, I have no idea why Marvel and DC reprinted those Spider-Man comic or Spider-Boy comics, Spider-Boy and Spider-Boy team up. I get reprinting Spider-Boy team up as that's the best amalgam comic, but I was expecting Spider-Boy to appear at some point. So I wasn't expecting anything once Deadpool places Batman in a Lazarus pit, but in a very dramatic page turn, we get Dark Claw, or at least a version of him, as he doesn't seem like the original nor the animated Adventures version. It's fun to use of the character as people come out of the Lazarus pit a tad crazy. So coming out as Dark Claw is crazy, plus gives us an action sequence versus Deadpool. Damian Wayne shows up, jumps on Cassandra Nova, breaking her connection with the heroes. If I could write a crossover, I would like to think I will try to write myself into it, especially if decades ago I had did that in a previous comic, so the door's there to do it again. This whole story is happening as Cassandra Nova wants a magic keyboard that can rewrite reality. The writer, Morrison, possesses the keyboard and is writing the story, which is fun and gets the story back on track, which is very meta as the story was getting very zany. The cosmic beings are getting pretty hot and heavy and create a new amalgam character, Deadbat, who is a Batman of Deadpool's color scheme and pattern. Well, actually, I guess it's a more Deadpool with a red cowl and cape situation. The story ends with Deadpool walking away with Cassandra Nova's head in a jar, and Batman was in another Batman's body, but everything should work out now. The Cosmic Beings, AIPT, where I get most of my comic book news, names them as Destiny and Kismet, referring to how they were both in Joey Avengers, which I love, and remember them from it, but couldn't place their names. Took some Googling, but Kismet is the DC Green Lady, and Destiny, Boy Destiny, is the blue fella. Phantom lists him as Eternity, and that makes more sense to me. Kismet appears to be ranking Eternity pretty low, but from what we can tell from his concern, Then we get the John Constantine Doctor Strange story, written by James Tyrion IV, Joshua Willems, and Scott Snyder. Hayden Sherman's the artist, of Mike Spencer the colorist, and Frank Chekovic the letterer. Constantine comes to visit Doctor Strange, which makes sense as he has the fancier house. Apparently, Ghost Rider and Swamp Thing are tingling, a story I'd rather we were getting more of, and Constantine and Doctor Strange were just the bookends. Constantine implies the DC universe has a darker nature, but I'm not sure if that's true. But also, I'm not familiar with the new DC, the new 52 DC. Is that even what they are anymore? Did they have another reset after 52? I also would have liked seeing a few more magic users. And then we get my favorite story from this crossover: Nightwing and Laura Kinney Wolverine, written by Tom Taylor, who's written both characters. He wrote Laura for the all new Wolverine ongoing. Bruno Redondo is the artist. Ariano Lucas is the colorist, and Wes Abbott's the letterer. This story was Laura and Dick's narration boxes are fun. They both grew up in a mansion. Laura figures out that they're just a regular guy, but is impressed with him. They both have been heroes since they were kids, teens. Killer Croc captured Gabby after he took Jonathan, the most real Wolverines. Dick references Gabby's dog earlier, and I was like, she doesn't have a dog. So this makes more sense, but I hadn't really considered we were getting Gabby and Jonathan, as I love those two. Dick is very concerned that Gabby has a bone sticking out of her hand, but she assures him she's supposed to have that. So that's very cute and funny. Laura defeats Killer Croc pretty easily. Dick recognizes Laura's holding back and is probably constantly holding back. Dick references his dog Haley, named after the Haley Circus, who talked one time in Nightwing 98, issue 98, which is a very cute and funny story involving him getting his own ninth dimensional imp, Night Might, and Haley became Bite Wing in it. It's very cute, as are these next pages where the Kinney sisters meet Barbara Gordon and Haley. Gabby asks if Batman's Dick's dad. He confirms, and in a very great and topical moment, Gabby says he and Laura are both Nepo heroes, which makes me smile every time, as they are. We get Harley Quinn and Incredible Hulk, written by Mariko Tamaki and Amanda Connor, artist. Tamara Bonvillian is the colorist, and Dave Sharp is the letterer, who I recognize from like the original Ultimate Universe. He was like a constant letterer there. Um, this is very fun, bright, bombastic comic. Hulk and Harley are chasing an alien. Hijinks ensues. It's over before you know it, and it's a silly romp of a time. Then we get the final story, Static and Miss Marvel, written by G. Willow Wilson, co-creator of Miss Marvel. Um, Denise Coleman's the penciler, Kaus Jansen's the inker, Francisco Segarra's the colorist, and Steve Wams is the letterer. Miss Marvel's having a meal of her family. The earth quakes and she investigates. Static was having a meal of his family and he goes off to investigate. And there's a giant monster that I don't recognize. They offer to add each other's hero chat rooms, which is fun, and they defeat the monster at the end of the story. So I really like two of these, and the third being very good. Uh, we get the Book of Revelation 2. Issue opens with the youngest and newest choirister, Rebecca, solidifying the ghost of Philadelphia herself, Kitty Pryde. Kitty phases them through the ground and to her secret cave. Kitty shares what happened to her X years into the future. She had a disagreement with Revelation, who I like how she keeps referring to him as Doug, and he uses his powers to fade away and become a ghost. So she did, and has been spying on him and his choirsters ever since. The Becca names checks the Sapiens in Uish, Dark Child and Providence in the X-Men, to which Kitty cuts her off, says, USA, the Becca, which even this many days after reading it still sounds odd or disconnected. Something is off about that exchange. And the X-Men, USA, the Becca. I tried to do a search and Google provided that in Hebrew it could mean lands of the covenant, but why would she say that? Before they can go back up the tower, Kitty tells Rebecca about Bay the Blood Moon, the former wife or the late wife of Doug. Revelation's looking for Rebecca, and he needs all the power amplifiers to continue his quest. Fabian Cortez gives a half-hearted children will be children, which Rebecca shows up, accusing Cortez of attempted murder. Cortez tries to lie his way through it, but can't. Rebecca reintroduces Kitty Pryde, who's now fully satisfied and a version of her black and yellow suit. Now with thick knee pads and no belt. Before Dougie Doug can banish her again, she reveals that Cortez set in motion the events that led to Bay being killed by at Doug's orders, which of course upsets him. Rebecca references the disagreement, and Revelation reveals it wasn't just a disagreement. Kitty went full Shadow Kate with the Peach Momoko redesign and everything, and attempted murdered him. This breaks Rebecca's heart as she was sworn to her loyalty Revelation, and in an awesome sequence, ghosts Kitty again. It is really cool image as she's solid, then turns into a ghost of Philadelphia, and then just light blue vapor. As thanks for her part in the excitement, Revelation lets Rebecca choose Cortez's punishment. Since Revelation still needs Cortez, so he's ordered to be good. Days later, which I suppose is when Sinister Six can take place, as Rebecca and Cortez are hanging out. Cortez looks to be in a very rough shape. Rebecca leads him to a cliff and pushes him over, so it looks like he took his own life. She starts narrating aloud as she assumes Kitty's still watching, though we don't get any hints of Vapor, and reveals she's actually loyal to Apocalypse and she's deep undercover, which is pretty solid ending. Pun very much intended. Unbreakable X-Men 2, like Long Shots 2, I feel like all I want is to see my favorite characters, and then I'm enjoying the title more. And boy, howdy, we got it this issue. Such a giant step up from the first issue. Gambit opens the issue with relating how his eyes weird people out when he was younger but never rogue. Shock, a giant of a demon is rising, and random recites of the Outliers took an oath to defeat it ever if it ever came back, so we're going to collect them all. Death Dream wants nothing to do with people, but agrees to come once again once he's reminded of the oath. Does this take place before or after Overture? Logan cut off his head, so I think before, but can he even be killed? Can either of them be killed? More about that later on with Logan later. But can Death Dream? Antarctica, Jitter gained the ability to maintain a few powers, but it made her hyper aware of everything, so she's in isolation. Since Becca is around, I immediately start worrying that about her, and I'm just looking for clues about who is the Endling. Though people on Reddit said that in one of the letter page and Uncanny that there is a plot twist or a plot change, and so the Outliers are not supposed to be the Endling, but I don't know. Apparently, the Marcus's daughter might be the Endling now, but it's like, all right, more on that later. Um, The interesting that Jitter doesn't have a stutter anymore, so she took Rogue's advice about the speech instructor. Outside Denver, Colorado, Spider Girl, who I'm slowly liking, asks Kaliko for help. She goes outside and we see an entire herd of embers, so we never have to worry about something bad happening to the best horse-shaped spirit boy. We learn that Ransom and Idale have a son, so that's another mystery solved. Since we see all the Outliers together, and that's great. As soon as Jitter and Calicchio are in front of each other, we get cow litter. There's no need for apologies when there's hushing time, especially when one is being hushed with smooches. Issue ends with Shavcock heading off to Atlantis to confront Namor and Galactus' sleeping body. Omega Kids 2. I'm really liking these kids, especially Bailey, who gives me an evil young Ilyana vibes. Issue ends with how they're all relaxing instead of going house to house looking for spies. Bailey has a mental scan going out, and if anyone is even thinking negatively about Revelation, their brains are shut off. So that's pretty intense. Before that reveal, we get Rachel meeting the kids. They seem to overwhelm her. She was minding her own business, naturally having telepathic shields up, and which they took as an offense. Choir stops the kids, and Rachel packs up her things as her house is wrecked and moves on. Choir thinks he's having this grand conversation or revelation when really some goons have guns pointing to his head as the kids are relaxing in a field. This has a very enjoyable series to read. The last Wolverine 2, Heather reunites Leonard and Nightcrawler. She's concerned about how the trip to the territories will weaken them, so they make for a lousy team for this rescue mission. Heather's suit's going to be overwhelmed to keep the X virus back, and Leonard is a Wendigo. But that doesn't count as a mutation, so who knows what will happen to him. Kurt, who is depowered, will have his powers restored, which I want to know how he's even depowered. Hopefully, we get that answered by the next issue. I do like how Mackenzie supports him on going on the mission to save Logan. Kurt's powers will be restored, but they're not sure what shape he'll be in once that happens. Cyber shoots their fancy plane down and Leonard eats his face. So that was pretty intense. Heather reveals they're not going to save Logan, but with the Mesa Moon, they're going to kill Logan as his greatest nightmare is to be turned back into a weapon, and he is a weapon, so he needs to be freed. I have my serious doubts that they are going to succeed at that mission either. Oh, and Heather reveals that the X virus is no longer being maintained to just North America and should be spreading worldwide soon. And Radioactive Spider-Man 2, Radioactive Spider Blood. Everything has this going on in their heads when they read this, right? Not nearly enough Dr. Cecilia Reyes in this title, but from what we get, it's pretty awesome. There is clearly something wrong with May. We get a flashback to the day of Revelation where Peter's trying to get to MJ and May, and we see that MJ didn't make it, but something's off with May. We're back in the X year as Spin, Miles Morales, and Ghost Spider Gwen are in New York. They state that they did something that tricks the X virus into thinking they're mutated already, but only for a few hours. So how does that work? And they came from the West Coast to the East Coast, so have they considered they need to get at least mid-country before whatever scheme they're doing plays out and they get affected? This may not be addressed, but I'd like to know. Miles and Peter have tension. Peter keeps very awkwardly mentioning that he has to keep his mom, May, alive. But what would Miles do if it was his mom? Which is clearly awkward as Miles' family, including his mother, clearly died this in the early days of Revelation. So why even keep bringing it up? They get to Peter and Dr. Reyes' house. May comes out very confused. She sees Gwen and says that she should be dead and freaks out. And by freaks out, I mean she becomes a giant, wide purple people eater. So the third issue villain, Mayhem, is May. Get it? Mayhem. Very clever. I get annoyed that this is yet another example of Peter choosing his elderly aunt's life over Mary Jane's. But when Mary Jane being killed and by May's monster hands, most likely, I guess it's just an easier choice to be made. I get that she's his mom, but it bugs me when he chooses her over his life partner. Spider-Man Holiday Spectacular 2025. Now to the other titles. This was such a great and fun issue. Peter joins Ben Grimm's Hanukkah party. Kitty Pryde is there, hanging out with her amazing friends, Firestar and Iceman, who are all chatting with Mustachio Johnny Storm. She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts are joining the party. Moon Knight, Moon Girl, very cute to combine those two. Devil Dinosaur, who looks very cute as he squeezes into the elevator. We see Justice is side-eyeing Firestar, who seems to be noticing, but it's not giving him any attention, so good for her. Spider-Man's concerned that Volcana is there, which is odd as she's so sweet and awesome. Maybe he's thinking of Titania, who debuted together in Secret Wars. Aunt May calls and she's celebrating Christmas on a cruise. I noticed Ben overhears the conversation, but didn't think about it much until later in the issue. Peter's invited to an Avengers party. Carol makes a very fun caroling joke. She's fun when she can relax. Everyone starts using Peter as a buffer as he's wearing a Spider-Man mask at both parties. Hulkling invites him over to his in-laws, and WandaVision is one of my all-time favorite comic book families. My number one family when they were married and when they were part of Magneto's family. It's very complicated. I like how he's the buffer of so many chats until he wants to hang out with Chang Si, who wants Wasp to be his buffer. This comic is just a delight and it's only like page 5. Christmas Eve, Daredevil has enlisted Peter to his secret to secretly deliver presents, which is very sweet of him. Christmas Day, Logan invites Peter to Louisiana. He wasn't going to wear his mask, but to save his identity, he's going to. He meets the Outliers, which I love as he gets to meet Cal later. And we get 2 appearances of them in 1 week. Poor Jitter and Becca have to sit opposite of each other. My lovely wife and I had to do that one Christmas Eve as her Uncle Bill, RIP, wanted to make sure everyone talked to everyone, which is nice, but I just wanted to sit next to her, and I imagine they are feeling the same. Death Dream, it turns out, is a huge Spider Man fan. I like how Peter says the one and mostly only, as the Spider franchise is pretty wide these days. I love so much that Skin and Chamber are there too. I love a reunion. Logan talks about how he didn't lose the bet. Everyone wants a Spider Man at their celebration as Grim felt bad and reached out to everybody, and Logan won. Peter's sense of humor isn't for Logan, but he understands Peter's fun to have around. May calls, the cruise got canceled. I do feel bad for all the crews who have to work Christmases. Hopefully they get double pay for those days. Peter makes it home that evening and they both go on a New Year's cruise. It's such a delight of a comic. Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe 5. I had no idea Perez did a variant cover of Magic on the cover. So I had to buy that one. Godzilla is putting up quite the fight against Black Panther's Mark Mech. This is until Magic pulls out her swole sword and Ant-Man embiggens it and starts just whacking Godzilla with it. He has no defense, and I love Magic having such a major influence here. Magic stabs Godzilla straight through with her soul sword. Human Torch wants her to kill Godzilla as Godzilla killed the Fantastic Four, which I don't remember. And for a dramatic page turn, they're not dead. Captain America throws his mighty shield and Ant-Man embiggens that to continue pushing Godzilla back. Reed has a plan. He's going to exile Godzilla to a burning planet, which I immediately think is about how successful that was with Planet Hulk. It's a multi-part plan. Reed requests his Magic use her mutant teleportation gift for a part. I think the clunkiness of the request comes from how intimidated he is of her. Thor throws Mjolnir tied to Godzilla. Magic opens a portal and teleports herself and Thor to a burdened planet. Thor summons Mjolnir and Godzilla to the planet, so at least Reed's planet works this time. They leave Godzilla behind to enjoy his solitude. What's he even going to eat? Does he eat? There's a big party, and it looks like Magic didn't have time to attend, but Cyclops is there. Bruce Banner confronts Reed about how he can't keep exiling all of his problems, so I'm glad someone finally addressed it. We get the credits page and then a post-credit scene, so that's fun to see in comic form. Reed cleans up a message from the future Human Torch that they received in the beginning of the series. Johnny tells them not to banish the Godzilla as millions will die. We get the sequel Hulk that Noel, who Marvel's just doing everything to make happen. I seen him in Venom 3, and he was mentioned in Marauders King in Black, so I've been able to successfully dodge him. Issue ends, of course, with Godzilla being a symbiote, so issue 2 must have sold very well. I might have to order all of these issues if Magic continues to be a bigger part in this. Predator kills the Marvel Universe 4, another crossover. Marvel has also announced a Planet of the Apes Fantastic Four crossover, which will be 4 issues. I'm sure that's on purpose. Issue opens with Predator killing a slew of villains, which makes me worry about Nightcrawler's fate with every page he's on. Thankfully, he survives the issue, which is a huge relief. Spider-Man saves Logan and Kurt, and then Iron Man saves them all, so that's fun. Sue Storm's about to blow up the main Predator ship, but is stopped by their king, who, of course, is chosen by being the greatest of the Predators. So hopefully she survives the next issue. Still no Kitty Pryde or Danny Moonstar, which makes sense as they defeated a Predator very easily in Wolverine's miniseries. So hopefully they're alive and well and keeping some people safe wherever they are. I sort of love this music. That kid is very talented. Ultimates Volume 3, 18. I checked, Imagine hasn't appeared or been mentioned in any of these previous issues. Emma Frost and Wanda and Quicksilver were in issue 14, which I've read now, and it was okay. Emma's working with Roberto da Costa's father, and the twins fight with the Ultimates. This issue, Tony Stark, Iron Lad, addresses the whole world and invites the world to join the Ultimates. If you can resist, you can be an Ultimate. Magic stops torturing someone to listen as Tony's name checks her in the list of world leaders who are working with the Maker. Tony's father, Howard, bought them 2 years before the Maker's free of the city, and those 2 years are nearly up, so they need the world to resist them. The speech is pre recorded and lasts pages upon pages and feels pretty empowering. One War Under Doom 9. This event is finally over. Issue 8 ended with Doom's actions leading to Valeria's death. So he spends the entire issue trying to make that right. He loves his goddaughter so much, he'll pay any price. So many deny Doom's request until he gets to the living tribunal, who accepts. Doom's death for Varia's life, which really makes sense as they needed a reason to both shows why Doom wouldn't seek power again and a way that removes him from power. His death does both of those. He confronts Reed, which is sad knowing what is coming, as Reed is a complete jerk, and gets Doom's mask and with the will of Doom as the issue ends. As we make our way to Chip Zdarsky's Armageddon, which starts in January or in May, which also explains why we're being given 5 issue series starting in January and February, and the X-Men United in March, written by Eve Ewing. So that's what's replacing Exceptional. Um, and dealing the Ultimates universes end as well. So hopefully the Marvel universe, as we know it, still exists. Marvel hasn't done a complete reset, and hopefully they never do. X-Men of Apocalypse 1 feels like forever since Alpha came out. AOA characters come across a Logan and a Bishop who remembers the AOA timeline vaguely. He knows they shouldn't be here. Issue ends with Professor X in the original 5, as I'm losing interest in this. No reference to Leon or Shadow Cat from what I saw. Next week we get X Patriot X-Men 2. What will Melee do? Will Colossus show up? He will because we saw the preview pages. And what about Axo? And he Colossus is on the ship, so who was Melee talking to? Maybe she was talking to Axo now. Battle World 3. Will Days of Future Past Storm make a Cape Pride reference? X Avengers 2, hopefully with so much Danny Moonstar content. On Deadpool 2 with Cable and hopefully more Fearless. Cloak or Dagger 2. I doubt they'll explain how their daughter was born. Smaller weeks, so hopefully a shorter episode, but it feels like nice to have a longer episode after shorter ones. And Age of Revelation rankings. We have some major changes. Book of Revelation 2, Amazing X-Men 2, Expatriate X-Men 1, Unbreakable X-Men 2, big shoot up. Iron and Frost 2, X Avengers 1. Actually, I'd probably go Unbreakable X-Men 2 as the end of the top tier. The mid tier, we have Iron and Frost 2. That second issue just brought it down. X Avengers 1, on Deadpool 1, Omega Kids 2, which I might move up over X Avengers if I remember. Overturn, The Last Wolverine 2, Binary 2, Lord Kinney Sabertooth 2, Tough, Radioactive Spider-Man 2, and then no, I say Cloak or Dagger 1, and then towards the bottom is the Sinister Six 2, Rogue Storm 2, Age of Revelation 0, Long Shots 2, and the World Revelation remains the worst. And then we had the solicitation, so let's pull that up. Uh, might just be easier for me to look at my pictures that I saved, but not that. There we go. So we get Godzilla the Infinity War 1. So they were already getting the Godzilla sequel. Ultimate Wolverine 14, which references him and Jean are going to Magic's Limbo Realm, so I'm still hooked on that. Um, Weird that Jean's going there with her brain is outside her body, but Ultimate Endgame 3 with Magic on the cover, so they got me still going for that. Magic and Colossus 1, which I'm going to try my best to give Colossus a fair chance, but I'm going to try to get any variant covers that don't have him on it. Um, Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant, which references a funeral that she's attending, which I don't love, as with the X-Men United, that this is like major cast changes. Like I think Cyclops supposed to be in it, Wolverine's supposed to be in it, Nightcrawler. So I'm like, well then what's going on with the other ones? But we'll figure it out. But it's a funeral, but no Kitty Pride reference, and it's Eve Ewing. So if anyone was going to write Kitty anymore, you think it'd be her. X-Men United supposed to be Emma Frost starting at another school called Grey Mulkin Lane. So we'll just have to see where we go from there. X-Men 25, the big special anniversary issue with Magic on the cover, the regular cover, but we're supposed to. Oh, are we still recording? We are. And issue 25 is going to give us the Lucio Velcecchio Magic cover, so I want that. Oh yeah. So those are the big things I saw coming. And that everyone was episode 204 of Shadow and Flame. You can follow me online at Jacko SII, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, and you can follow the podcast at SNFWM with the N spelt out. And thank you everyone who's been going to the Lockheed subreddit. We have 107 members already in just a week, so that feels like a huge success. And thank you everyone for listening or watching, and I'll talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Oh, and thank you again to Walker D. World for providing the instrumental for the episode. All right, everyone. Bye. Come here. Oh no. Ugh, I'm having this Adobe Distiller busy starting up. Let's